Now, tonight on our front, we will delve into the ambitious strategies laid out by the National Democratic Congress to harness the potential of Ghana's youth in agriculture and entrepreneurship. The discussion will focus on key initiatives they laid out during the Youth Manifesto launch, like land and farm bank projects, the establishment of farmers' services centers, and the promotion of agro-processing industries, all aimed at empowering farmers and boosting the agricultural sector. Particular focus with specific and sharp focus on young people. Additionally, the conversation also explored the NDC's plans to foster youth entrepreneurship through programs like the Ejumarua program and the establishment of Young Entrepreneurs Microcredit Institution. Joining me for this all-important conversation is Director of Inter-Party and Civil Society Relations and a member of the NDC's 2024 Manifesto, Dr. Peter Boama Otukuno. He is in green, very far from me in this place. You're welcome, sir. I hope you are doing well.
Thank you. I'm doing great.
And to make sure that only the facts are delivered on this network is his lecturer, ever distinguished agricultural economist, Professor Irene S. Eju from the University of Ghana. Prof, you're welcome.
Thank you.
It's been a long time since we sat and had a conversation.
Truly.
Of course, we've spoken on the phone several times. Yes, but I hope you are in good health.
Very good health.
Some have said that that title is still there, that you were the first female to be dean of the School of Agric. And they kept on saying that it appeared that you have been dean forever.
No.
Yes, anyway.
We used to be Faculty of Agriculture,
Oh,
so
actually.
there was a first dean of the faculty. Then when we changed to school,
Yes,
and I am the first
You're the
female.
first female dean of the...
That's Professor Anabans, eh?
Yes.
He was the first.
So there's a faculty.
Brilliant. Now, tonight's conversation will critically assess the feasibility, potential impact, and implementation challenges of these policies I just outlined earlier. The goal is to provide a comprehensive evaluation of how this initiative could transform the agricultural and employment landscape for the young people in the Republic of Ghana. Prof and Doc, you're welcome once again. Let me start with the people that put this document together. And Dr. Peter Boama Otukuno certainly should make this possible for us. Let's start with a brief outline of some of the agri policies you have fashioned and tailored towards young people in this country.
Okay, so first of all, let me emphasize that what happened last Monday was historic, and it is something that has come to stay. That is the first time you are having a political party launch a youth manifesto. And what we sought to do with the youth manifesto was to extract youth-related issues that we believe are very critical for youth development and growth in the economy. And we launched that on Monday. The manifesto itself, we are gearing up to launch the manifesto on the 24th, Saturday, 24th of August, in the Central Region. And I'm sure you have seen the statement from the General Secretary announcing.
Certainly. Of course, last night TV mentioned it, actually.
I'm chairing the committee that is planning the launch in Central Region. So you should be assured that next week you are going to have the fuller picture of what we have in agriculture. And so perhaps...
is there a reason why the policy you launched, I can't find anywhere?
Oh, well, you have not asked. Actually, I could have sent you a soft copy. I was just telling Prof that if I knew she was coming, I would have shared.
I've been asking everybody I know.
No, it's all over. In actual fact, what we did was that we shared copies on the ground. And
okay,
so
yes,
there were hard
people
copies.
Hold hard
yes,
copies.
There were hard copies on the ground. And the soft copy has been available
but
since
many
Monday.
know that this is 21st century.
And if you had sought, maybe you would have found.
Digital
it
copies.
says, seek and you shall find.
Okay, now.
And so I would share that with you right
Brilliant.
away as we have this conversation. Now, agriculture, as maybe let's start from skills, youth development skills and the kind of programs that we have to develop the youth. We believe that the youth are not only the future of this country, they are actually the current leadership of the country because they drive economic growth, particularly because of their numbers. And so when you have an empowered youth, you have an empowered nation. And so what we have said is that owing to the problem of a lot of young people being out of school, out of job, and idle, from the Ghana Statistical Service, we have close to about 1.9 million young people who are idle. They are either not in school, they are not in jobs, and what they do is that they wake up, eat and sleep, wake up, eat and sleep. We believe that is actually a national security crisis, and the need for government to take immediate and giant action to take them off that idleness is a matter of urgency. And so, what we have proposed as part of our efforts to move the youth to productive sectors of the economy is to introduce what we call the National Apprenticeship Program. And so for young people who do not have any skills, who do not have any job, this National Apprenticeship Program is going to enroll them into various trades of skills. It could be hairdressing, it could be tailoring, it could be seamstressing, it could be anything that it skills. And they would go and learn the apprenticeship. Government would offer support for them. And I have seen a number of people who have had the desire to enroll in various skills and vocations who have not been able to enroll because they have to go and pay what we call trinsa and buy tools and equipment and all that. And because of that, they are unable to get this opportunity to learn some skills. And so we believe that this National Apprenticeship Program would be very crucial to move a large mass of our youth into the job market, developing skills. But it's not only the development of the skills. One of the biggest problems of this country is the standardization of the skills. And so we have various vocations and skills. We have the masons, we have the carpenters, we have the electricians who go through various means to learn the trade. But there is no standardized process for certifying them. And that is where President Mahama and the NDC comes in and says that let's have a certification regime, which certification regime will now give them some level of standard and acceptability. I'm sure you are aware that when we started drilling oil, a lot of skills and vocations were required on the oil rigs, but we were looking for people to do underwater welding and we were unable to find. It was because our training systems and training approach has not made provision for such advanced learning and advanced working. And we believe this certification regime, tied with some extensive, vocation and technical training, would improve their skills and make them more useful, more efficient in the service delivery. Because we believe that they can also contribute to national development. I'm sure you have heard President Mahama announce, for example, that beyond the certification, we are looking at formalizing the businesses of all these individuals who are into these various vocations. We believe the formalization is very key so that they can contribute to national development. We have, in the process of preparing this manifesto, engaged a lot of organizations, including the National Artisans Association, the Artisans Association of Ghana. And this group is made up of about 700,000 people. They have subgroupings, the hairdressers, the barbers, the mechanics, the tailors, the seamstresses, all of them under that group. And their biggest concern was that they felt that they were not contributing to national development. And the way they would contribute to national development is if their work is formalized. And one of the ways they want their work to be formalized was for them to get some level of certification. And we believe that certification regime would be very, very, very useful. And so the Ejumara program that we are talking about is something that is going to deal with this. Then beyond that, those in the skills and vocation.
The skills development, is it separate from the Ejumara one or is related to it?
No, the Ejumara is the umbrella, is a name we've coined for these programs, including the certification, the vocation, the apprenticeship program, and all that. And we have also coined another one called the Moniyo, because one thing that we have realized is that our parents, our uncles and friends.
I want to get this clear. Because you started with the Ejumara.
Okay.
You said it involves giving skills to people.
Exactly.
How many people are we targeting here?
Well, we know that there are 1.9 million youth that are out of jobs.
Are you talking about those that the statistical services are not in employment, education, or training?
Exactly.
Specifically, that's the group.
Exactly. We are targeting that group because you see, it should be statistics driven. Because those young people that are not doing anything, as I said earlier, remain a national security threat for the country. And the earlier we move them out of that category, the better for all of us.
But do you know?
And so it's a matter of urgency for the country. And we believe that this would be the way to go. The aspect of education and those who are dropouts and want to go back to school is there. And that is why we have proposed the extension of free SHS to private senior high schools, and also to take care of the admission fee for all level 100s. And that one, if we talk about that, we will not live here today, because I am a typical example of somebody who had to suffer my level 100 admission fee. And because of that, I stayed home for 3 years before I was able to enroll in University of Ghana. And so yesterday night, I was sharing my personal story, and Prof is very much aware of my personal story. I paid only 20% of my first year school fees. And I was very fortunate, very, very fortunate to have gotten scholarship from the university to take care of my fees from the student aid office. Then I also got the Finatrade Foundation scholarship. So I was a Finatrade scholar. And that was how I survived in Legon. And so all those youth that are unable to continue their education, there's a provision to take care of them. Then those who are unable to continue their education, you give them vocations and skills. And that is where the Ejumara policy comes in. Then beyond the Ejumara, we have seen our uncles and grandfathers and sisters and aunts who go into this kind of informal trades, these vocations, and they go on retirement, and there's no formal retirement for them. And so what we have proposed is that we initiate a scheme that would provide some level of retirement for those individuals, so that they, as a carpenter, as a mason, as a fit, what do we call them, the mechanics, you can enroll in an insurance scheme so that you can have some retirement package when you go on retirement. And that is the money. So you have served your nation. You need to have a decent retirement.
But how's that got to do with youth development?
No. But why? When you develop the youth and you give them the certification and you improve their lives, they must have a secured future. Actually, your retirement is prepared when you are young. If you don't start preparing for your retirement now, you have no future. You understand? So whilst you are young, we are giving you an opportunity to prepare for your retirement when you go into retirement. And so that's it about youth, jobs, and skills training and vocational training. Then, most importantly, you have said we should talk about agriculture.
No, I'll come to the agriculture part. I think you started with two key ones.
Oh, okay.
Monuyo and Ejumara. Yeah. I mean, we have had in our history a plethora of programs with similar nature. I mean, the training groups, the TVET still is on the minds of many people. They actually still are training young people across the country. Not long ago, there were other groups that under the previous NDC government, you could list them. There was YesDec, LesDep, and all the other decks that could come in, basically doing the same thing. How different are these two projects from those ones you've done and predominantly failed in times past?
Well, let's not restrict ourselves to these two projects, because there are more projects that were announced. There were more projects, and I'm going to speak about them. But let me deal with the issue of the policy inefficiency. Our biggest problem in this country is mostly moral hazards, rent seekers taking advantage of our policies. Then sometimes adverse selection. And so you have a case where you have designed a program that is supposed to be meant for the underprivileged in the rural areas. Then you have the politicians, the ministers, their family members enrolled on the program, doing no job, yet they are taking salaries. They are being paid. These equipment that are supposed to be distributed to the young people are not distributed to them. It goes to political cronies, family members, and associates. And so that aspect is the biggest problem in our policy implementation processes. And Raymond, I would have to assure you on this one, that in the design of these policies and programs, we have been careful about the processes, the implementation arrangements. And yesterday on this platform, I was trying to explain how, as much as possible, we are trying to eliminate human intervention in all these activities. And so, for example, our manifesto is coming up next week, but you will see in there that as part of the certification processes for this vocational and skills training informal sector, we are seeking to identify them through the certification so that their work would be formalized in a way that when there is any program that is supposed to subvent them, that is supposed to support them. It goes to the right people that actually need the support. And so it is all about data. And so the issue about policy inefficiency, I doubt if it will be a problem in our next regime, maybe to a minimal extent, because we are really thinking about all these programs that have come up in the past, and they have collapsed for no reason. NABCO came, gone. Here is there doing all manner of programs, and they are not sustainable.
Including some of the things you have just mentioned.
Sustainability. So sustainability should be the key underpinning, should be the backbone of our policies. And these policies that we have announced are policies that are carefully thought through. In fact,
but
it is not
said and done. Yes, Peter, because see, I am not that old, but I've seen programs in this republic. Since I started doing this job, virtually every single year, any government comes in, they run a list of them like you're talking about. It either dies before the government leaves office or is riddled with the massive corruption we have in this country. What is the trump card of a future NDC government that will make it impossible for this to happen? Sustainability of these programs. What is the key thing that will make them sustainable?
Raymond, skepticism is allowed. But what is not allowed is losing hope. You cannot lose hope. The fact that it has failed in the past doesn't mean that it will fail in the future. But most importantly, the fact that it has failed in the past, and you and I know that it has failed in the past, is the more reason why we would fix it in the future. It is the more reason why
it will go well. Is it not the more reason why we should not compound ourselves with more of those ones?
Not at all.
When the evidence has shown that doing the same thing resulting in failures is not something to continue.
It is greatly defeatist for anybody to say that because I have failed in one thing, I don't have to do it again. It is greatly defeatist.
But if you're running the
when you have failed,
the Otukuno farms, when you fail at one thing, you don't repeat it consistently.
Yes, when you fail at one thing, it doesn't mean that Otukuno will stop farming. Otukuno must continue to farm, but this time do it better.
Okay.
And so you must learn lessons from the failure and make sure that it gets better.
You mentioned
and that is
adverse
why,
selection.
Yes.
What are the specific lessons you have learned to make sure those ones do not become a stumbling block to any proper implementation going forward?
Well, I have mentioned two. At least that is enough. I believe that that is the bane, the biggest of all. And I mean, any academic will tell you that for any policy to survive, apart from the fact that you have to do your technical assessments very well, do your predictions very well, apart from the need for data and funding, moral hazard and adverse selection is your biggest challenge, particularly when it has to do with public policy. But Raymond.
So what will be new about the new NDC that can make this not repeat itself? That's the question I'm asking here.
You will not be able to get a proper answer if you don't look at it case by case basis. So let's pick a case by case.
Let's say,
and so we have proposed national apprenticeship program.
Okay.
Has there ever been a national apprenticeship program? How did it fail? What was the reasons why it failed? In fact, the only one close to the national apprenticeship program that we have seen is the LESDEP. But the LESDEP, let's assess whether it failed. The LESDEP didn't fail. It was because we lost power.
Really?
It was because we lost power. And there was lack of interest and continuity. But the LESDEP actually set people up who are still working. If for nothing at all, I know an organizer who is still operating because he started under LESDEP. I know people who are doing farming, who got the tricycles and all those things from LESDEP. I know people who learned how to service tricycles, and they are working now. Now tricycles are everywhere, and they have gotten jobs to do. They've earned livelihood, sustainable livelihood. But the program was collapsed by the new government. And so let's not go into the details of the past. I believe that lessons of the past are important, but they should only inform how efficient we design our policies for the future.
No problem.
And so let's look at the new policies.
I come to you. I need for the things you talked
about. I wanted to pick specific policies. One or two.
Under the Ejumara and the...
One and two. Then we can go.
No problem at all. Just quickly mention them. So that because I need to bring Prof in.
Yes. So among the things that we have identified is the biggest problems is funding, access to credit for young people to start their businesses. And so we have proposed the Young Entrepreneurship Microcredit Fund, which we are going to put in some 750 million Ghana cedi for starters. And what this fund will do is that we are going to look for young people who have innovative ideas, who have business startups, so that we can use this money to start them up. And in doing this, we believe that sometimes it's not only about the financing, because mostly when a startup, is being designed, they are looking at other fixed investments, including offices and all that. And sometimes it becomes very difficult. And so to cure this, so that the monies would be more useful and efficient and beneficial to the young people, we are looking at the youth innovation and industrial parks. And so we are looking at every district. Let's set up, just like we did the Accra Digital Center, which was supposed to be a business processing outsourcing center. We have the same business processing outsourcing centers in the various districts, where a young person like Peter Boamo Tokuno, who is dejected and has some brilliant ideas and want to start a business, can just go and pick a registration form and say, I want a small space to start my business, and this is my business idea. This is the funding I need to run my business. This is the operational expenditure that I expect to incur. Can I get some funding to do this? Then you set the person up, build the business to an extent where he can run on his own and move out. We did that at the Accra Digital Center. And you see what has happened to the Accra Digital Center. Unfortunately, because our brothers and sisters from the other side did not know the foundation of the ideas, the foundation of building the center. You've seen what has happened to the center now, what is being done there. So the Business Processing Outsourcing Center has now become something else, being given to food soldiers, and they are Goro boys and all those things. In fact, some of the buildings are even empty. Some of the buildings have been hired to be turned into warehouses and all those things.
It's not the passport place you're talking about.
Where?
Enclave, the passport enclave.
Yes. So yes, that's where the passport office is. But that is supposed to be for small businesses. I have a friend who has started a business, and I mean, just a small business to do deliveries, and he needs an office space, and he can't get an office space there.
Okay, let me push this up, because you mentioned other projects you wanted to do, because I need to break Prof in quickly. Yes.
Okay.
Prof, you've heard at least some of the a skeletal presentation of the things that they want to do under youth development. I know we'll come to our great pretty soon, and that's the next thing we'll be asking. Do you really feel deep within you, from your experience, that this is a break from the past? Because that's the conversation we are having today. How do we break from the past and do things differently? Are you getting the indication that we are breaking away from what has been the problem with merely introducing any fanciful projects that ends up being one of those things? We spend money on it, huge amount of money, and becomes a almost useless project, if you want to call it that way.
I don't believe in breaking from the past.
You don't?
Yes, because 59 years ago, I was not 1 year old. Is that not it? Yes. If what they want to do is to build human capacity from the past, that's what we want.
Yeah.
So continuing, for me, is good. Check.
Okay.
Do you get me? That's why I'm saying that we cannot break from the past.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is about development.
That's true.
And development, we have the human aspect. We have the physical aspect. Now they want to touch base with the humans. So in the past, there's been ways that we have done it. So go to the classroom and give people information, and let them touch a little bit of it. And when they get the jobs, so in the 80s when we finished A-level, I could easily go to the bank and be a banker.
Okay.
In fact, my mother's time, those who finished even MSLC, they went to the bank.
Middle school leaving certificate.
Yes.
Were bankers.
They went to work at the bank.
I see.
O-level, when I finished A-level and I wanted to go to the bank, those who were managers, they were employed at O-level.
Oh, I see.
Yes, so what I'm saying is that what they want to bring, you get me, to address what you call unemployment, low education, lack of training. Is that not the statistical gap that we are trying to complete? So we won't break from the past. What has been listed, I have not seen the document, but what he has listed I remember in 2013, I was employed as a consultant by GIZ to look at their apprenticeship program. It was not under less than. This is GIZ as a development partner.
Yeah, not under less than.
Do you get me? Taking interest. So if you say you want to kind of mimic it, that
model
is there because it worked. I was a consultant looking at evaluating the programs, and it was working. So I don't know what model they are using, but I also know that apprenticeship, whether it's by people who had received 10 years of education earlier or nothing, we've had it. You get me? When I finished first degree, I wanted to sew. So I did apprenticeship in sewing. I could measure already, so there is no problem with me. It's easy with me. But in the categories that you are talking about, there are persons that you have to do more with them. And that is what I know the TVET is doing in terms of competency-based. So you achieve, you don't achieve, and then we move you. My only issue is that now after JHS, you can go to free technical vocational. So I wanted to find out, is that not also the same capacity improvement? Because those are the areas we pick: electronics, we pick cosmetology, and all those things that you are mentioning. So that's why I'm saying that we cannot break from the past. But the efficiency issue, for me, is my problem. You get me? All these things you mentioned, I do microfinance. Experimenting, first in the agricultural space with the informal. Then I added the formal, trying to understand. So, bringing a microcredit fund, I'm not jealous. Because I know what you can go through. So the efficiency issue again, we know about Maslock, don't we? Exam started at what?
Yes.
What haven't we done? So the efficiency issue, and whether we'll be true to ourselves and reduce the way we corrupt, because whether you like it or not, that issue, we have to tackle it. Whichever government comes, if we don't tackle that issue, because it's a way that it spills. Fancy or pitsing.
It's becoming a human behavior thing.
Or pitsing. You get me? Anything that or pitsing is not good. Because the money is not much. And then there's a hole. And leakages. So if we block them, for me, these things you are talking about, not difficult at all. Because there's already a CTVET. Is that not called VET?
Yes,
institution that's supposed to
institutionalized, and you can hold it, and then wherever the money you are bringing it for. My uncle, who has a son who probably cannot go to tertiary and wants to join this, will be happy. You get me? So I cannot say that we should break from the past. What I can say is that the efficiency issue is what I want to see a write-up on what they want to do. Because that's what these names...
Dealing with that specific...
That's what these names... Ejuma, what is Ejuma? Isn't a PPP? Ejuma.
No, that's yes.
You have what? You have Ejuma. We had it. Ejuma, and then you have what? Money, yo. Call it anything. It's insurance. We have social security programs coming up. Cocoa. For 10 years, I've sat on round tables. I don't know if my cocoa farmers are benefited. So efficiency issue.
It's a very interesting aspect. I'm sure we'll go into that.
Who hasn't done informal sector? This agricultural insurance, GAIP, 20 years. I've chopped dollars on it, evaluating. Do you get me? Efficiency. So nothing is strange here. Don't break from the past. do it better.
Exactly.
That's
exactly
an
the
interesting
point.
perspective.
Exactly the point. And you see the sweetness.
Renaming is not doing it.
The sweetness of the pudding is not
There's
in
something
the
in the name.
Yeah.
Okay, really?
No, but Prof, you see,
It's my bishop.
Prof, you see, the sweetness of the pudding is not in the cooking.
Mm-hmm.
The sweetness of the pudding is not in the cooking. Mm-hmm. It is actually in the eating. Until you start the implementation, you will not know whether the issues of efficiency will be dealt with.
No, but
Now,
what is new? I'm saying
Prof,
this startups for innovation, MasterCard Foundation, Young Africa Works.
So, Prof, that was a pilot.
So, it's not pilot. It's not pilot.
Whichever way, the scale will be less than when the
Peter,
government wants
Ministry
to run a
of
full
Trade
program.
and Industry.
Just give me a second. Let me hear Prof first. Yes, I'll get you some reaction to it.
Obatanpa, where you say there are food soldiers, I've gone there to be a judge on a government project that is doing this. Innovation, agri-tech, pitching, bringing your ideas so that we can give you a package. It's running. Are they efficient? That for me is the issue. Do you get me? So I didn't see formalization. This is the big one. I was in Korea in May. In Korea, that's South Korea, thrives a lot. They like big industry. Yeah. So they know these are our 10 big.
Okay.
It's okay. They give us our money. But SMEs, everybody is formalized. Everybody. You can't really get out of that bracket. They give you, they register you, they give you training, they support you, they monitor you, they tax you.
Okay.
So the next time you come for training, it's your own money. You get me?
Oh, okay.
But we have SMEs that will say they are poor. So they don't want to contribute, they only want to take. Don't do that. I'm telling you, don't do that. It's not sustainable. And that's what we've been doing also in this country, where people will even support. They stand on their foot, and we don't get them to contribute. You get me? So that the money will be moving, it's revolving, and then it's expanding. We are bringing in foreign capital as well, and then we are growing our own. You see that we will now be with the big people. That's what Korea did. Imitate, innovate, imitate, innovate. And then the corruption, they named it. From day one, they were on the corruption nibbit. I'm telling you, and they have done it.
Yeah.
So 2021, they became developed country, declared. Nothing.
And this is a country that we start off with a better per capita income too. Yes. This is South Korea we're talking about.
Our land area is bigger than theirs, but their population is higher than ours. And it is focus. We want to do it, we will do it, and people are committed. We lack that a little bit, I'm telling you.
These issues pointed out, how specifically are you hoping to deal with them?
So, Raymond, I was starting off by saying that when you design manifesto policies, what you do is that you have an implementation plan. In fact, usually political parties do not develop implementation plans. For the first time, the NDC, our manifesto, there is a team that is currently working on an implementation plan. And so you see that the policies that we released last 3 days, most of which we have been very clear, and we are able to tell you exactly how we are going to do that. All the issues that Prof has raised, all the challenges that has to do with corruption. And that is why that's what I beautified and called it moral hazard. You know, but it is not only just corruption, as in the corruption where somebody is stealing, but it's a corruption of our behavior, social corruption. You understand? Like political corruption. And all those issues, all those things are there that we have to deal with. And yesterday you had monitored me. I was very careful when somebody was suggesting that in the implementation of the free first-year students' education, we should give the money to the university, and the university would be doing the determination who should get it and all those things. I said, no. As much as possible, eliminate human intervention. Because if you do not eliminate human intervention and let the money follow the numbers, let the money follow the human beings. And so you go to school, you get admission, go and register. You register, the money follows the numbers that have registered. You understand? So that there is nobody making that determination. And when the money goes, there must be monitoring and evaluation. And indeed, Prof, the biggest problem of policy inefficiency in this country is monitoring and evaluation. The kind of tools we even use to do the monitoring, when indeed we want to do the monitoring. Accountability, probity. That is what we lack in this country. And so what tools are we even using to do the monitoring? So you send somebody to go and monitor. He goes and he becomes part of the chain. You understand? And everything is then corrupted again. Is it an appropriate tool to use in monitoring? And so all these are things that we hold very key and very dear to our hearts in the next NDC government. And I am speaking from the position of being central to the discussions that we have had in 4 years. Raymond, if you are not aware, the Manifesto committee that worked on this document, that is currently working and finalizing the document, has been working for 4 years. So last year after the elections, President Mahama said, no, we are not collapsing this team. We turned the team into a lab, so we call it NDC Lab, and we've been working for 4 years. If I tell you the institutions that we have engaged, the professionals and the technical people we have engaged, you have no idea. We have sat with them, as Prof was saying. There are several works that have been done, research work that is gathering dust on the table. And you have to listen to a lot of things to make a lot of decisions. And so most of the decisions that we are bringing, most of the proposals that we are bringing in our manifesto, you may not find the details in terms of implementation. But every proposal that you think, oh, this sounds nice, and we have tried something similar and failed, and so this one will fail, you may be getting it wrong. We are coming from the point where we are very much aware of the challenges that will confront us and how we can navigate those challenges. We may not be able to get 100%, but as Prof said, development is incremental. So you start from 1 point, you go to 2, you go to 3. We must get there. Other countries have reached there. We cannot jump. We cannot leapfrog. As the MPP Flabera said, we cannot leapfrog, but we must experience our development in an efficient manner.
I'm not interrupting you now because I'm interested in those agri policies too.
Yes.
Yeah, because, generally, you've answered the question about how efficiency will be important to you. Now, in agriculture, what should young people look up to?
Okay, so let me put agriculture in a different perspective here. You see, the problem, again, is that we have looked at agriculture in a wrong perspective. We have looked at agriculture as just some individual family feeling that when they put some seeds in the soil, it will grow and they sell the product, somebody will come and buy. If somebody doesn't buy, it either rots or they find a way to sell it off cheap and make some small pittance. And that's how we have seen agriculture. Our biggest problem of this country is that we have not linked agriculture to food. Because agriculture, unless it is linked to food and maybe industry, you are joking. Because you must first of all understand and do a needs assessment and see your food requirements. And so, for example, as Ghanaians, we love our fufu, we love our TZ, we even love our papransa. Now we are moving away from our papransa. We love our ampesie, we love our cocoyam. But how many people eat cocoyam today? It's my favorite. But my home, it will be very difficult for my wife, the inconvenience. And so the aspect of looking at food security in its entirety, looking at food and linking it to our production. And so if we eat banku, we eat fufu, and that's what we like. We should be producing banku and fufu ingredients, food ingredients in Ghana. Now, what's the mainstay in Ghana? We have moved away from our usual meals and Indomie. But why have we opted for Indomie? Convenience. And so we want to start off by looking at food, but most importantly, link it to production. But the kind of production that we are going to do also have roadblocks. So what are the roadblocks? How do we fix them? One, the key problem for production is input supplies. input cost, production cost. And so the input supply is a problem because most of the inputs that our farmers use are imported. So you have an importer who is bringing the inputs in. There is an exchange rate crisis. He brings a commodity worth some $10,000. He sells the commodity. The next time he wants to move out $10,000 to bring $10,000 worth of commodities, the exchange rate has shot up such that he consumes everything that he has earned in Ghanaian currency and have to go and borrow to go and bring it back. So he doesn't bring again. And so he's not able to supply the commodities. For those of us in agribusiness and in farming, you will see that you can never get one commodity sustainable on the market for 2 years. The commodity comes, one particular product, it comes, and the next regime, you are looking for that input and you can't get. So where does it go? It means that the one who is bringing the input has suffered some crash somewhere and is unable to continue the business. So this is what we are saying. We are saying that there is an input supply challenge. How do we fix the input supply challenge? We are bringing the Farmer Services Center. This Farmer Services Center is going to be an all-round center where all inputs the farmers are required to get would be acquired from the center. There would be a place where you can get all the agro inputs, all your fertilizers, and even mechanization, including agriculture extension services.
Are these for every village or district?
It is our intention that this would be in every agro-economical area. And that is our intention. So, for example, Greater Accra, Accra Metropolitan Assembly. Yeah. Do you need Farmer Services Center? How many farms is in the Accra Metropolitan Assembly? What you may need is areas where they can get agro inputs to do household farming, gardening, backyard gardening. You understand? And again, we have a program for that in our manifesto. So when we launch, you will see the details of that. But we are looking at building the farmer services centers in all the agro zones so that they will provide that service for those agro zones. And so we may be looking at the agro districts. So we may be looking at the agro districts.
I want a ballpark figure.
I cannot readily on top of my head provide that immediately because there are some areas that are pseudo-agro. You understand? For example, when
you would have mapped that out already.
No, for example, when we move out right now, we drive through Ofankor and we cross to Amasaman. There are areas in Amasaman that they are doing serious agriculture. But it's also in Accra. And so you would have to design your programs in such a way that it will overlap with another district, which is more agro. Then they provide the external services to those areas. And so there is some complexity which will be only explained in the implementation approach. But what you have to understand is that these farmer services centers would be in the agro districts. And this is what the farmer services are going to do. Beyond the input services, and maybe at this point when I'm talking about input, let me talk about land. Because again, one of the biggest problems for farmers is land. So a young man, I want to start farming, land is the biggest problem because if you have any investments or a Jah has left you something and you want to go and use it to start a farm, you spend all the money in buying the land. If you don't take care, you end up in litigation and may never get the land. But this is what government is saying. There were times in the past where we had land banks, which land banks were meant for agro purposes. And readily when we throw our eyes to just the far east, just near east, we see Pokwase, where the Ministry of Agri had some land that they were giving to people. It has been encroached. But this is what we are saying. President Mahama is saying that let's look at the stretch running through the middle belt from Accra to Paga. You would see that when you drive from Accra to Paga, off the roads, you see the bushes, the forest. The Ghanaian culture is such that when they want to build, they feel that building by the roadside is the best. Again, that has implications on our health, but we don't know. And because of lack of education and lack of planning, we allow all those things to happen along the main stretch. But what we are intending to do as part of our land bank programs, agro land bank programs, or farm bank programs, we intend to use government purchasing power to secure most part of the lands along the road. In fact, when you go outside the countries that are doing well in agribusiness, on their highways, you don't see any stores. In fact, they give you exits so that you go into the communities. And there is a climate reason why they do that. Because when you plant, you grow the crops along the road, they absorb the carbon monoxide. so that you are able to clear the environment of the carbon monoxide that comes out of the emissions from the vehicles. And there's a good reason why we are doing that. And so, again, we are using this policy to also address the issue of climate change. And so it is our intention that we take the route, the lands along the route, go into some arrangements, government secures them, then we can allocate these land banks to the farmers. And so you go to the district agric department and you tell them you want to farm maybe 10 acres of maize and this is your capital, this is what you want to do. Then they allocate the land for you. The Farmer Services Center would help you with the inputs, and under our Agriculture for Economic Transformation program, maybe I'm giving you too much, which will happen in the main manifesto, but there's a program that will allow you, the farmer, to get those services before payment. And so all those services are done. Then when you have cultivated and you have harvested and they have given you all the extension guidance and you have managed your post-harvest very well, then market becomes the biggest problem. So where is the market access? Which clearly is our biggest problem. I'm a farmer. Sometimes it's very difficult to get the market. And so the Farmer Services Centers would be hubs that will give you opportunity for markets. And so when you are done, you harvest, you bring it to the Farmer Service Center. And the Farmer Service Center, through the warehouse receipt program, will now receive your commodity. And when they receive your commodity, you have 10 bags of maize. So we gave you inputs, we gave you mechanization. This is the cost. Your 10 bags of maize cost this amount. And so these are the deductions. Then you pick your money. But again, this will not be successful if it is not linked to an efficient commodity exchange program. And so the whole idea of the farm services centers is an integrated one-stop shop for agriculture production. And so when you harvest, you go there. Okay. When you want inputs, you go there. You want mechanization, you go there. And there where you pick your warehouse receipts, there, right there, you are able to exchange it for either cash or you exchange it for other inputs to go back to the farm.
Now, let me get this clarified. Prof, you've heard all of the...
Prof just said very nice.
I did not hear that.
Yes, because
but the problem is the implementation.
Farmer Service Center is the old concept.
Land and Farm Bank
back to
project.
The basics.
Farmers Services Center.
Yes.
And marketplace for agriculture. Promote agro-processing and addition into industry. Wonderful step in the right direction.
Oh, yes. That's what I'm saying. And when I started doing agriculture, in 1987, in the universities, when you went to the field, these farmer service centers were government enclaves already.
They were called FASTCOP or something.
Then in 2010, USAID brought a concept that also captured it as outgrower models. You get me? And today, if you take New Age Agri Solutions, if you take Grow For Me, such companies that have come as private people trying to do this. I'm an investor.
Yeah, a lot of outgrowers systems across.
Yeah, so they do crowdfunding with us. I'm a farmer, but I also invest through crowdfunding so that these things will go on.
Rob, you remember we discussed this thing last year. And I told you I wanted to do same in animal production.
Exactly.
Crowdfunding.
Very good. So the one that caught my attention is not the farm banks, but it is along the road for the mitigation. A club. If you are able to do it, thumbs up. My issue is, where is the accommodation for these people who will be leasing or hiring?
Well, the intention is not immediately to displace, but to look at the places that are available now.
I'm saying that where would people stay? So they will stay in the communities, is that not it?
Yes.
Now, if these communities, their local economies are not well developed, the problem of me not doing practical agribusiness is the local economy of Lom is not developed.
Yeah, I agree.
That's it. So when you said our food, our agriculture is not linked to food, I didn't agree with you. Our ministry is called Food and Agriculture.
We do nothing with food.
Our UN is food and agriculture. Is that not it? We do a lot with food. Because I sat on FASDEP 1 at Indum's Hotel in Edina. I sat on FASDEP 2 before NDC came to implement. And we are still on FASDEP 2. So food security and emergency preparedness, 1. Increased growth in income, 2. Integration for competitiveness, 3.
I agree.
This sustainability, land and environment, 4. Application of science, technology, innovation to agriculture, increased institutional coordination. So, lots. Again, I'm telling you that when you say production, when you say that how we see agriculture is not linked to food, I'm saying that no, because
but
in the last 5 years,
our
even nutrition,
well developed.
It's food. That's what I'm saying.
There is a problem with the food systems.
System.
Please allow her, but there's a question. They talk about, and we have been asking that question. We have gone through Planting for Food, Part 1. 2.0 is currently...
2.0 is like what you are describing.
Oh, really?
No. There is an implementation lacuna. And perhaps maybe we want to go...
All that I'm saying is that don't
lack of consultation and all those things has landed us where we are.
It's okay.
Moral hazard,
the question I
adverse
have,
selection.
That is okay. All I'm
Prof,
saying
the question
is
I have is related to this. Yes, agriculture is a wonderful thing for developing a country and all of that. Kinky price at Domain is 5 cedi.
What is 5 cedis in
Kinky.
US dollar?
No,
bring it. What is it?
Oh,
no,
5
no.
cedi? That's like
It's
1
30
third
cents.
of...
It's 30
Yeah.
cents. Very good.
Kinky price is 5 cedi.
Wait. Now analyze Kinky making. The import content.
Kinky?
Yes. Because your fertilizer, apart from your soil, your irrigation, if it's irrigation doing the maize, all your pipes are import related. Your transportation is import, the big one. That brings the maize from the hinterland to my Mame Dokono at Osu. It's import related.
So it's
the containers, the rubber bags, everything, the plastic bowls, everything. What we use to fetch the pepper. So don't think, when I hear you people on radio say that Kenke should not cost high, I laugh. Because it also eats a lot of importation. Our agriculture sits on importation. The seed itself may be hybrid imported. I'm telling you, the seed, a lot of seed we use in Ghana is not bred here. And even if it will be bred here, the things in the lab, it's expensive now because we are importing everything.
I guess the question is...
I'm telling you. So that Kenke, you won't get it in the whole world. It's cheap.
Kenke back up to 1 Ghana cedi, 2
30 cents of
Raymond,
Kenke
if I may come in at this
yes,
point.
You won't get Kenke.
Last 2 weeks.
You cannot eat with $2 anywhere in this world. I travel a lot.
So,
the minimum is
$10. The proof of the reality and maybe linked to what I was trying to do with the food systems.
And 2 weeks ago. You get me?
Yeah,
if it's fully domestic and you have control over the prices and the things we use, then you can say prices should not go up.
But Prof,
but the way it is.
That's where the solution is. And so last week, Raymond, I just wanted to make some last point in relation to that.
These things they are going to do
point.
will not be linked to importation. That was
excellent.
So
solution, Prof.
Because if your input supply challenge is still going to be linked to importation, you get me? Because you said that the exchange rate is an issue, your macro. That is why I've stopped discussing agriculture, because it's a developmental issue and your macro economy.
Okay.
And that's why I even said the local economy. I teach a course called rural economy. Don't move it. People think agriculture is different. No, it's not different business. You need an economy
environment.
that everything, your tractor is what? It's only the soil or the water. Is that not it? That may be local. Everything is imported.
We should do a part 2. Prof, they are going to launch it on the 24th.
We really need to do this.
After that, I'm sure
I wanted to give a quick response to this.
30 seconds, please. My time is up.
Because of the time, that's why I moved away. In fact, the key driver of our agro policy is to own the input sector from Ghana, locally.
Produce
and so what are the main inputs for manufacturing or the agro inputs? They are petrochemicals.
Peter.
We have, they are petrochemicals. And fertilizers that we import are fertilizers mostly we can produce from here. Pesticides we can produce.
Implements,
even if we are moving agriculture from the non-application of inorganic fertilizer alone, composting, all the waste. What are we doing with it? How are we processing our composting? How are we managing?
Manpower.
You see.
Please, so manpower, so we will import.
So that's the
I am
point.
grateful
And so
to you.
that's how we have to fix it.
I am also grateful.
But Raymond,
to you,
we need to come back.
No, this is the beginning.
Discuss the
We're
foundation.
going to further and better particulars of this policy.
Exactly.
And you should expect that on this particular network as we delve into the programs going into the election. Many thanks to you, Prof. and Doc, for joining us on today's edition of UPFront.